Deshaun Watson has requested a trade. He is not happy with the Houston Texans organization whatsoever. He doesn't want to be there, and while Bill O'Brien technically ruined the entire team, he still shows little to no interest in being a Houston Texan. Anyhow, in this video, I'm basically going to explain a couple of trade destinations to you that I think can work for him, possibly. Basically, I'm going to tell you where Deshaun Watson can go and where you could possibly see him going within the next coming weeks. But before we get into the video, make sure to like and subscribe. All that is going to be up here. All that nice information, Instagram, everything. If you know you've been here for a long time, you already know. But anyhow, let's get right into the video. Now, there are a lot of possible trade destinations for someone like Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, and they're all right here in front of me. And basically, I'm going to give some scenarios on how those trades could go down. So my first one, of course, is the New York Jets. The New York Jets don't have a lot of stuff to really trade as far as players go, but they do have the second overall pick, and they do have Sam Darnold, who hasn't really gotten a real chance to star. I think that Sam Darnold and that first round pick could be something to facilitate the trade to the Texans. I really don't think that this trade's going to go through, simply because Deshaun Watson's not going to want to go from one disorganized franchise to another disorganized franchise, and two, why in the world would they trade for a worse quarterback and a higher pick? Like, I don't really get that. I don't think they would trade for a higher pick. I think that Houston, if the New York Jets are the only people on the board, I honestly think that Houston is just going to keep their quarterback. Why in the world would you trade for a pick and an unproven quarterback? I know he hasn't really had a chance, but I mean, come on. It's Deshaun Watson. He's an MVP candidate. I think he's well worth that. The Jets, they don't really have a lot of stuff to trade. They don't have a lot of things. They don't have a lot of players. The only players I really think people would actually want are players like C.J. Mosley and players like their young quarterback in Sam Darnold, and also players like Jamison Crowder. Those are the only three players people will want. Other than that, I don't think so. And I think that evidently Deshaun Watson's value outweighs all of those three players, and maybe even a pick combined. But who knows? That could possibly happen. Now, number two, for my favorite football team, the Atlanta Falcons. This trade can most definitely happen. I really see it happening. However, the Atlanta Falcons, I think we have to give up our pick and maybe Matt Ryan and maybe a little something else for Deshaun Watson. However, this could be good for both teams because the Houston Texans will be able to get a pick and restart while still having Matt Ryan, who is a decent level quarterback. He's not bad. And the Atlanta Falcons will get Deshaun Watson, a guy who can be their franchise guy. Of course, they won't have their pick, but as soon, the Falcons, they can make some things work behind the scenes to, maybe facilitate another second round draft pick, another higher round pick. However, this trade could work for both teams. I really think that this trade could be good for the Falcons, and it can be good for the Houston Texans. This is one of those trades that are really, really, really it's really versatile because a lot of players could be traded here. You have Russell Gage, Matt Ryan, the picks. You have all of them. And then for Houston, of course, you have Deshaun Watson, quite frankly, who everyone wants. But you also have a couple of picks. You have a third-round pick. Houston is going to want that pick. So, yeah, why not get that fourth overall pick while at the same time get a good quarterback in Matt Ryan and, until you establish another younger quarterback that can still be your franchise guy. But they have a lot of good trade possibilities here. I think this is actually one of the most probable that can happen. I think that this trade is one of the most realistic that can happen. However, who knows? Maybe Atlanta doesn't want to trade Matt Ryan right now, especially considering that he's just getting a new head coach and a new offense. Maybe they want to feel it out for a year. However, this trade can happen in more than one way. Number three is the boring part. The Houston Texans. Duh. I mean, why? The Houston Texans, of course, they have still a vacant head coach spot. And the only head coach there is that offensive coordinator from the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's highly touted because the Kansas City Chiefs have had one of the best offenses for the past 3 years. So, Houston, maybe they get a GM, maybe they get a head coach, and who knows, maybe it makes Deshaun Watson happy, and Deshaun Watson decides to stay. And, of course, they get him some targets, get him some wide receivers. That new staff that goes in there, they're definitely going to have to work very, very hard they're going to have to work to the point where like literally their heads are hurting, because you need to get Deshaun Watson targets, a running back, a pick, something like that. You need to get Deshaun Watson something for him to stay in Texas. I don't think he really wants to be there, but at the end of the day, who knows? Maybe Houston can facilitate something that can make Deshaun Watson a happy camper in Houston again. Now, for the lesser boring and also highly likely, the Miami Dolphins. Now, Deshaun Watson can definitely end up here because there are a lot of ways to go. Deshaun Watson, of course, Miami still has a good pick. They have the Texans pick, so they have, what, 3rd overall pick, I believe. Of course, they have Tua Tagovailoa, who reportedly Miami Dolphins players aren't really high on, so who knows, maybe they want to trade Tua Tagovailoa. And of course, you have a whole bunch of defense, Emmanuel Ogbah, you have Xavier Howard, you have him at corner. You have a lot of different very talented players, and ultimately, I think this trade is probably the most equal, because you get Deshaun Watson, put him in Miami, and Miami become automatic Super Bowl contenders, and then of course you get Tua Tagovailoa in Houston, where Tua can go and get a fresh start. However, this probably won't happen because Miami probably wants to feel out Tua a little bit. And to be honest, Tua didn't really have that bad of a rookie season for a guy who had a hip injury in college. So, quite honestly, I think this trade has a small chance of happening, but it's highly unlikely, especially considering the fact that Houston and not Houston, but Miami has a very, very young quarterback that they might be able to explore, but who knows? They haven't been interested in him. A lot of players are like, I'm not quite sold on this guy. So this trade could go both ways. I call this a 50-50 chance of happening. Now, the San Francisco 49ers. Again, they have Richard Sherman. They have Nick Bosa. They have Fred Warner. They have Jimmy Garoppolo. So many trade pieces in San Francisco. And they have a pretty good first-round pick this year. So there are a lot of pieces for San Francisco if they want to trade. And honestly, I think this could have a high chance of happening. Does Deshaun Watson want to be in California? Who knows? But the thing is, they have a lot of players to trade, combined with a very good pick. Deshaun Watson ending up in San Francisco could possibly mean Super Bowl contention. Of course, they have one of the best defenses in the league. And then you look at the offense with that Deshaun Watson and George Kittle connection. That could be possibly one of the better connections in the league if Deshaun Watson gets over there. Of course, that trade, like all these trades, they have a decent long shot of happening, because who knows, maybe Houston doesn't see Jimmy Garoppolo as their franchise guy. Maybe Houston wants somebody younger. Maybe Houston doesn't want, the veteran cornerback that is, kind of old now. He's not really the top of his class anymore, Richard Sherman. Maybe they don't want that. However, if the trade does happen, this works for both of them, because Houston gets a good cornerback, they get a good quarterback, and they might even get a good linebacker. Who knows? And they might get a young Nick Bosa. But quite frankly, a lot of things can go on with this trade, because there are a lot of young players and a lot of seemingly older players on this San Francisco 49ers team. But who knows? The 49ers, they could look on that side. Hey, we made the Super Bowl last year with this team. We want to run it back. We want to use our pick, and we want to get back to our winning ways. But this trade, definitely two ways. San Francisco and Houston, this could work for both teams. But ultimately, I think San Francisco would win the trade. They'd literally be Super Bowl contenders once again. Now, for my last one, Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, their passing game the last couple years has been absolutely garbage. It has not been good at all. And everybody's talking about how they think Mitchell Trubisky's going to get re-signed. How they think, they need to give him a chance. They need to give him receivers. Well, they give him all that, and they have not been good since, 2018, 2016, somewhere around there. The Bears have not been good for a really long time. That's the point. And ever since that miss by Cody Parkey, man, Bears fans, it hasn't been the same for you guys. Until Deshaun Watson could come over there. Of course, the Bears, they already have a number one receiver Deshaun Watson can throw to, in Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson has caught for, over 1,000 yards 2 times in the past 2 seasons. He is one of the best wide receivers in the league. And, of course, maybe they want to trade. Of course, you have Khalil Mack for a trade piece, although that's very, very unlikely, because Khalil Mack, he's one of the best defensive players in the league. Let's just put it that way. But, of course, you have those DBs, Eddie Jackson. You have Kyle Fuller. You have, Kyle Fuller. All of those great players. And it's just Chicago, their defense has always been good. Their offense hasn't been there. But if you put Deshaun Watson in a Chicago uniform, guys, I think that that's a Super Bowl contending team. Deshaun Watson, there's just so many teams that can use a solid quarterback. They're a quarterback or an X-factor player away from Super Bowl contention. They're literally this close. And then it's just crazy because lots of teams, all these teams that I just listed, the Jets, the Falcons, the Texans, the Dolphins, the Niners, and the Bears are all so close. They all look like great teams. However, I think they're all missing that X-factor quarterback. That's why I think Deshaun Watson could be all of their guys. But in conclusion, with this trade, Deshaun Watson, he clearly doesn't want to be in Houston. I think the most likely, no bias, but I think the most likely are the Atlanta Falcons. I really think the Atlanta Falcons are most likely to land this trade, and let me tell you why. Off the field, things matter, and Deshaun Watson is literally from Atlanta, Georgia, so why would he not want to play for his hometown team? And then you have, of course, Russell Gage. You have Julio Jones. You have Calvin Ridley. You have a lot of people to throw to. And then Atlanta still has a decent second-round pick, so maybe they can get a running back right there. Who knows? However, Atlanta, they're the high guys for me. Atlanta really has a chance, and given the fact that this is a new offense, they're going to be running an offense that made Ryan Tannehill look like a very, very good quarterback. I really, really think Deshaun Watson has a great chance of going. It would start a new era in Atlanta, a new head coach, new GM, new quarterback. It would be a whole new thing, and really, I think Deshaun Watson can get it to his number one receiver, Julio Jones, because we saw what he did with DeAndre Hopkins while he was a Texan. And of course, Atlanta, they're basically the Texans with more talent and not front office problems. So, Atlanta, you guys are my guys. I'm counting on y'all, alright? So, I need you guys to go out and get Deshaun Watson, whether that be with the first round pick or Matt Ryan. Who knows? However, that's all I have to say about the Deshaun Watson trade. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any other trade destinations, possibly any other trade scenarios, type them down in the comments. Feel free to let me know. I'll respond. Trust me, I will. But anyways, thank you for watching this video. I love you guys, and I will catch you guys next episode.